Hey, welcome to the Shrewdness. I'm Pru. Chiz is here with me tonight. Dex is traveling the country. He's all booked up doing some stuff, so he's not able to join us this week.
Probably signing autographs somewhere, doing appearances.
Based on our recent uptick in subscribers, that could be true.
That's right.
I'm not sure.
That's right.
It's clear that many of you like fantasy football and Guillotine fantasy football because we've had a lot of new subscribers join us the last couple of weeks, which is great.
Absolutely.
Hope that continues.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Keep sharing. Thank you for being here. We are going to talk a little bit tonight about some upcoming news, I guess, for the Shrewdness, what our plans are over this next month leading up to the regular season. And then I think probably our biggest thing that we're doing here soon is publishing our season rankings to help you with your upcoming drafts. Chiz, what else are we doing? We got a lot of things coming up here.
We got a lot going on. We'll talk through a couple things, but I thought we'd start out with just talking about what an incredible week it was to be a running back in the NFL. For those of you who were, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been talking about how underrated the running back position is and how you don't pay running backs, and evidently,
they're a dime a dozen.
Right? No, you don't need to pay a running back. Whatever. Evidently, when the Chiefs signed Kenneth Walker to that pretty lucrative deal, it triggered a domino effect because this week, within the last 7 days, Jonathan Taylor, 2 years, $44 million extension. Jameer Gibbs, 3-year, $67.5 million extension. 51 of that guaranteed, which in the NFL is quite nice if you're a running back and you can get guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Not so nice if you're a team. And then Bijan Robinson had a 3-year, $75 million deal before that. So all of a sudden, the running backs are getting paid. So the value's starting to go back up there. So that's really interesting. But we're going to have a shorter episode this week. Like Pru said, next week is a big episode because we're going to unleash all of our rankings. We're going to reveal all of those across positions. So you'll be able to see in order all of the positions ranked out a long way, long enough that you won't have to worry when you're doing your draft. You'll have all you need in terms of making your picks.
Let's talk about, for those that haven't listened a lot, if you're new to the Shrewdness, we are specializing in Guillotine format fantasy football, right? And so the rankings that you're going to see on Fantasy Pros and ESPN and all that, that's different.
Totally.
Shrewdness is totally focused on Guillotine format, which the more you watch the show, the more you'll learn about Guillotine. Go out there and look it up, see what it is.
Yeah, we've got a tutorial video you can check out.
That's why when these rankings come out, you'll see that they don't match what you're going to see elsewhere, and that's for a specific reason. A lot of the players will be, up there near the top like they should be, but
sure.
The thinking for these rankings does revolve around Guillotine format, scoring, and so forth. So
that's right.
That's why this is a big deal for us. It's different than everybody else.
We've been in the lab. Pru's been in the lab with a pen and a pad, and we have got
and a computer.
A computer. We've got special rankings that we allocate certain amounts depending on schedule strength, particularly early schedule strength. We take into account, positions and how many you're going to start, all that sort of thing. Because a Guillotine, all you need is one bad week and you're done. So we're trying to help you avoid that chop, and that's what these rankings will do. So you can go back and look at some of the previous episodes we've done recently where we've done top 10s at each of the positions. We're going to be updating the rankings all together to have a conglomerate of all the rankings compiled together, so you'll be able to tell where they all rank relative to one another. And we'll release those next week. That's free to everybody. We want you guys to get involved and enjoy it. We'll update them as injuries happen. We'll be watching training camp and adjusting accordingly. But you can always go to theshrewdness.beam.ly where those rankings will be housed. Theshrewdness.beam.ly. That has all of our previous shows, also on YouTube, Spotify, pretty much anywhere where you're going to get a podcast, you can get us now. And you can get all those rankings and resources there. So We've got another announcement that we're going to talk about at the end of the show. But before we do that, we wanted to spend a little bit of time this week talking about those specific pitfalls that happen in Guillotine. And one of the things that we really struggle with and want to point out to you, if you're doing Guillotine for the first time or even if you're a veteran, is bye weeks. Early buys in Guillotine are not good because those first few weeks in Guillotine, you need your players. You need your horses to be playing, because if you're going to go and spend a first-round pick on one of these guys and then they're not there in week 5, you're going to be sweating in week 5 a little bit. And it's not saying don't draft these guys. We're not saying these guys aren't draftable. We're just saying you need to have this in the back of your head when you're drafting. You need to be aware where these buys are, and you need to bump down a little bit some of these guys that have early buys, right, Pru?
At least a tiebreaker. If you got two guys that are close together, one guy's got a week 5 bye, the other guy has a week 11 bye. Hey, you're better off keeping that, especially in those early rounds. Like you said, the total points scored is going to drop off quickly. So after the first or second round, your 5th round player versus your 8th round player, you can probably cover that with picking up somebody else to fill in for a week. But those first couple round guys, you rely on them to be in there week after week to boost your score at least up above a certain threshold that you can get by.
You gotta have those early round picks producing for you as long as you can have them. So we wanted to call out a couple. The good news is, first 4 weeks you're clear. No buys in the NFL the first 4 weeks. All your guys are playing unless they have injuries. The first bye week is week 5, and this is a bad bye week even if you're an NFL team, just an NFL team, to have a week 5 bye, because usually you're not banged up that much.
Right.
You want a later bye week. 2 teams drew short straws this year. Carolina Panthers and our beloved Kansas City Chiefs both have a week 5 bye. Anybody that we should think about here, Pru, as we're considering drafting? The good news is neither of these teams have guys that are probably going to go super early in the draft. Normally you'd have Patrick Mahomes going early in the draft, but coming off the ACL, although he looks really good, and all the reports in training camp are that he's great and on track for week 1, you still got a little bit of a question mark there with him. So we're going to adjust the rankings accordingly. Anybody else on the Chiefs that you would say, hey, you need to watch out, this could be a tiebreaker for Pru?
Yeah, so my personal rankings don't have Rashee Rice that high, but I'm guessing somebody will probably take Rashee Rice in the maybe late first or probably second round. So that's right. Marginal one maybe. Travis Kelce, you could probably find another replaceable tight end in round 6 or so to get around Travis Kelce being out in week 5.
That's right. I agree. I don't think anybody. I mean, we don't have Kenneth Walker ranked that high.
He'll be a second round pick probably. So he's. Yeah. I mean, those are really the only 3 that you can talk about for the Chiefs, I think.
So you got to worry about.
And those are not top tier guys that are, really impacting your team. They'll help you, but they're not the.
Totally agree. They're not the guys that are like, you're not gonna have to worry so much. And with the Panthers, it's even thinner. The only guy you're probably worried about the Panthers is Tedero McMillan.
Yep.
And depending on where you put him, you'll see in our rankings where we have him. He's a very good receiver. He's clearly number 1. But you're probably going to want to bump him down a little bit if you're thinking of him versus somebody else, just because week 5 bye. Week 5 bye, Tedero McMillan shouldn't be your star. He shouldn't be your number 1 pick. So you should have to worry there. But again, like Pru said, when you're getting a little later rounds and you're trying to make a decision between somebody, just keep that in mind. Week 6, though. Oh, go ahead, Pru.
One more thing. I guess before we get too far into this, maybe we should talk about week 6 first. But what I start to say is you can probably avoid one guy being on bye, but if you draft a guy with a week 5 bye, avoid another week 5 bye like the plague the rest of your draft.
Absolutely.
Like pay attention during your draft. you can dodge one guy if he's your fourth or fifth pick. But I learned this the hard way. Last year I had my first round and third round pick. No, first and fourth round pick. Both had a week 5 bye. And
that's killer.
I sweated it the entire weekend. And I barely survived. And then, it's great to have guys post bye, but having 2 of them early, that's dicey.
That's a really good point. Make sure you keep that in mind in draft day, because there will be somebody inevitably, and it's been me, like Pru said, I've done it before, where you look down after your first 4 draft picks and you go, oh crap, I have 2 guys that have an early bye, and that is a really bad situation to be in, no matter how good they are. They're not any good on the bench, and that's where they're going to be in week 5 or week 6. Week 6 in particular this year is loaded. So the week 6 buys this year, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Detroit Lions, the Miami Dolphins, and the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, so let's talk about who's in there, because you've got a treasure trove of Guillotine fantasy studs in that group. So we'll start out with Dex's favorite, since he's not here, the Minnesota Vikings, from a fantasy standpoint. Now, I know that Dex is drafting Kyler Murray in the first round, but most people are not going to be drafting Kyler Murray in the first round. So you probably don't need to worry about him in a week 6 bye.
Right.
If he's the guy you're betting on, then please write me a check and save your time.
You can be in our league.
Absolutely. They do have some really interesting cats catching the ball, right? Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. So week 6 is a pretty early bye. Jefferson is going to go early.
Yeah.
He's a first rounder.
He's the one to strongly consider who your other options are when he comes your way.
Absolutely. Addison will be later, and you can find somebody else that's going to be equivalent to Addison. So, and same thing with Hawkinson. He's not going to go high. Just don't draft one of these guys. If there's a toss-up and there's somebody even close in replacement value, just don't. Don't give yourself unnecessary stress. You get enough stress in Guillotine. You don't need to draft a guy. Well, you could, Jordan Addison and an equivalent guy. Don't do it.
Injuries are unpredictable, right? Everybody's going to have to deal with the sweats caused by injuries. But this is unknown. Like, your team is going to be on bye a certain week, or your player is going to be on bye a certain week. Don't cause yourself the extra stress. Work around it. Go for those week 10 or 11 buys. You got a lot of runway to play with.
That's right. Another heavy wide receiver laden team, the Bengals.
Oh, yeah.
Jameer Chase. Same bye week as Justin Jefferson. Okay.
And another guy that we'll talk about here shortly.
That's right. Yes, there's a lot of wide receivers in week 6 that are on the bench. So think about that in your strategy, right? You know that these guys are going to be out in week 6. If you have a guy that's not out in week 6, there's going to be several people with their number 1 pick sitting out in week 6. So it could provide a ton of insurance for you. Jameer Chase, T. Higgins, both very prolific receivers that are going to be pretty high, right? Burrow, quarterback position. Burrow lights it up. When Burrow's healthy, it's tough to beat him from a fantasy standpoint. But week 6 bye, he's going to notch down a little. It's not that I'm not going to draft Joe Burrow, but I'll tell you, if Joe Burrow is there and Josh Allen's there, I'm taking Josh Allen.
Or a Justin Herbert or a Dak Prescott.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of guys that are maybe not as good, but if you're guaranteed that they will play, barring injury, we can't predict that, but if you're guaranteed to have your same quarterback for the first 5 or 6 weeks, first 8 weeks.
What is the best ability in Guillotine, Pru?
Availability.
That's right. You've got to be able to play.
The lineup.
You got to be in the lineup. Another one to note on the Bengals, Chase Brown, right?
Yep.
Good running back. He catches a lot as well, so he's going to be pretty high on our boards, but be very aware of that. Now we'll go to the Dolphins. They really only have one player that you need to worry about. So, similar to the Carolina Panthers,
Right.
since everyone left the Miami Dolphins in the offseason.
Do they still have a team this year?
The last one in Miami, please turn the lights off because,
Yeah.
and that happens to be Devon A-Chain. He is the only valuable skill player on that team right now. I'm sure somebody else will pop eventually, but you sure as heck better not be taking him early. So if you've got a Miami wide receiver on your board early, flip it upside down and start the other direction because I don't think anybody can name a Miami receiver if you ask them right now because Tyreek Hill, Waddle, gone. But A-Chan, he's legit.
He'll be a top 12 pick, 12,
yeah.
I don't know, 12 to 15. He'll be a first-round pick somewhere.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, and we haven't even talked about Detroit yet, right? That's the other.
Right.
So
why don't we?
Let's talk about Detroit. So Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameer Gibbs will be top 6 or 7 picks. Both of those guys will be gone.
Yep.
Jared Goff's going to be, not a high-ranked quarterback, but a mid-ranked quarterback, maybe around 4 or 5. Jameson Williams is not bad.
Laporta is a solid tight end, but again, like that, they have a ton that you got to watch out for.
Yep.
And again, Shrewdness is not telling you don't draft Jameer Gibbs. We're not telling you don't draft Jameer Gibbs. But I'll tell you this: there's a lot of discussions going to be had, and we've had a lot of discussion amongst ourselves on the Bijan Robinson versus Jameer Gibbs, and they're both incredible backs. And when you're talking about incredible backs, like little thing like this becomes a really big deal.
So you think about the top 3 picks are very likely could be Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Two of those guys have a bye week in week 6. The other guy is not until week 11. So draw your own conclusions there, but there's a lot of first-round players that are going to be out in week 6.
If I'm sitting on that one pick, it makes it pretty clear to me. But, when you get 2, 3, it does get a little tougher, right? Because you just got to know you're swallowing this pill when you're going in and you're taking Jameer Gibbs or you're taking Jamar Chase.
And like you said, this is a double-edged sword this year because of the other teams that have that week 6 bye. There's going to be a lot of players in your same situation with their stud out in week 6.
Right.
So
that's right.
It may be a little easier to dodge this year than it has been in years past. But
that's right.
If you're one of the 5 teams that have a stud out that week, you're still got a 1 in 5 chance of being low man on the totem pole. So
that's right. And here's the other thing to think about. And this is Guillotine strategy, and this is what we love about it. There is a very high likelihood that after week 6, one of these players is going to be available for fab dollars, right? Like, it is a very strong possibility that Jamar Chase, Jameer Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, one of those guys is going to be available for you to pick up after week 6. So that's a pretty cool part about Guillotine too, because you can be like, hey, I'm going to go draft somebody who's I know is going to be playing, and I may get to pick up another top 5 draft pick at the end of week 6. Not guaranteed those guys are going out because they may have some other guys that fill in and get them over the hump. But when your number 1 pick, your first round pick is out, you are in jeopardy because of how thin leagues are.
Before the week even starts, you're in jeopardy, right? You've almost guaranteed you're going to be in the second half of the scoring with your top guy out.
That's right.
That early in the season.
You're going to have the Monday night sweats, which is one of the best parts about Guillotine. Sitting watching a Monday night game you care nothing about, but you care deeply about it now because you guys on the bench and you need the other guy to not score some points. So, we wanted to just kind of highlight this before we talk about our full rankings next week, because we wanted you to be aware of it and be thinking about it, because they will be reflected in our rankings. And you may go, why did you put this guy over this guy? It might be because of when his bye was. Right. And, it's not a big deal in regular fantasy to lose a guy for a week because you're playing next week no matter what.
Right.
It is a huge deal in Guillotine. All right. So now that we've given you fair warning on bye weeks, wanted to bring you an exciting announcement from the Shrewdness. So we are taking our content to the next level this year. And we have, last year we talked about Guillotine, we recapped it, we previewed stuff. This year we did some rankings. This year we're going even more in depth, built out models. We've created things that we think are going to be really helpful tools that implement the strategy that you need from a Guillotine standpoint. And this year we're going to the next level, which is these super in-depth rankings, which are given to everybody to access because we want everybody to have them. We want everybody to engage in Guillotine because it's so fun. Then we're going to add, for the first time, a paid tier. And it's not going to be a ton. It's going to be very reasonably priced, where we do a ranking every week of who to start and kind of the order in which we would start guys. And we're doing this because we think it's super valuable. Every week is a stressor in Guillotine. You want to know, you're going to have several times when you go, this guy or this guy, this guy or this guy. And it's really tough to make those calls. So we're going to provide you with weekly cheat sheets, which will have those rankings on who to start. We'll do it by position so that you can make those calls when it happens. It'll also be super valuable for you when it comes to fab dollars. So those are free agent dollars for those of you who are new to Guillotine. When somebody gets cut, all those players go into the free agent market and you have to bid. And so it'll give you some good guidance on, I really need to go for this guy because I got a hole here, or this guy's significantly higher ranked than the guy that I have. So we think it's going to provide a ton of value. It's going to be a flat fee, access on the shrewdness.beam.ly. That's going to be available for the whole season for $20. So $20, you get every ranking for every week, all those positions. A ton of value. And when you think about how much you're spending on a Guillotine league, or you're thinking about how much you're buying beer on Sunday when you watch the game, or how much you spend on an NFL Sunday ticket, or any of those things, it's a fraction of that, and it's going to provide you a ton of value. So we're excited to roll that out this season for the first time. That will be available on the shrewdness.beam.ly. Anything to add on that, Pru?
If you're a true glutton for punishment like I am, after your team goes out in Guillotine, you spend the next 4 or 5 weeks saying, would have won that week again. Would have still been in it had my, quarterback not been injured in week 7 halfway through the game. And you play all these what-if scenarios in your head. The value and the great thing about this package that Chiz is talking about is that we do the thinking for you. We help tie break you if you've got 2 guys that you're tossing back and forth. Which guy is going to keep me alive? That kind of thing. We don't care about your team necessarily because we don't know your team, but we're trying to rank guys relative to each other so that you can make an intelligent decision. Maybe you survive 1 more week and then you have 3 or 4 good weeks and you end up in the playoffs and the money for your league. The $20 is well worth it, right? So
that's right. Absolutely.
If it helps you survive 1 week, I guess is my point, then it's money well spent. So that's how we're viewing it.
Completely. And, like I said, we're using a lot of data to do this. So they're going to be data-driven models. There's going to be some intuition and art to it as well because we've played several seasons. But we will be looking at matchups. We're looking at all the in-depth data on, hey, are they going into a tough rushing matchup? Are they going into a tough passing matchup? And rank people accordingly. So you will see some big changes in there. It's not like we're going to be, hey, Jameer Chase, #1 every week. No, he's not. Sometimes he's going to be going against a lockdown corner, and we think they're going to run heavy that week. And, when that's the case, then he's going to be a little bit lower. So you're going to get a lot of data-driven insights, and there's good reason to spend it. So we're excited to roll it out this year, see how it does. Tell your friends, or don't if you want to win. But tell your friends who are in other leagues so that they can take advantage of the tool too. Shrewdness.beam.ly. The other product we're rolling out, I think this is a phenomenal value. We at the Shrewdness for many years have been doing sports betting, and we don't sports bet the world. So it's not like we put money on everything. We pick the best matchups every week that we feel the most confident about. And we have a very good track record, which we will post on the website, of winning. So we're not promising you the world. You know we're going to be credible because we're going to have all of our data out there for you to see. You're going to be able to see what we've done in past years, how much we're up or down. We're not saying you're going to win 80% of the games. You're going to see a lot of folks out there that are like, oh, 80% hit rate, whatever. That's BS. Anyone that says they got an 80% hit rate, they're not selling subscriptions because they're billionaires already from sports betting. So, like, we're giving you reality. Our historical rate is such that you will make money if we continue at the rate that we're hitting. No promise that we're going to continue at the rate, right?
It's pretty easy to hit 80% of your bets if you get 30 cents per win after betting $10 or whatever, right? If you pick the right lopsided game and you're only betting money lines, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actually making money, which means for picking the line most of the time you have to win 52% of your bets ish.
Yep.
Right. And I think we were in the 54 range last year. I forget, but we were in the money a little bit.
Higher than that the year before. Higher than that the year before. So we're going to provide an entire season of our best bets for $20 as well. So if you're betting, you may bet $20 a game. If you do, it's one game. If you're like me and you're cheap and you made $5 a game, it's 4 games. That's a tremendous value. And we've got a good track record. And it's really fun because you can play along with us. We talk about the games we bet on. You can be a part of that. You can rag on us when we miss. You can talk about how bad we are when we have an over week. But we also have some really good weeks where we get them all. And we do parlay bets as well, which pay out really nicely. So over the last 2 years, we're positive. We'll put it up on the website. Obviously, there's no guarantee you're going to make money, but I guarantee you're going to have fun. And if you're into sports betting, you're going to love to hear what we're saying about the games and why we're picking those games every week. So we're going to have 2 products that are available on the website, the shrewdness.beam.ly, those weekly rankings, which are super valuable if you're in that Guillotine League, and the sports betting. Both of them super cheap, but we do spend a lot of time and effort and understanding on why we rank the people we do, where we rank them, and also picking those games. We do a lot of research on the data to understand what game we like and why. And there's tools that we use for that too. So we're not just picking games out of the air, just flipping a coin and saying, oh, it's the Lions this week. You'll hear our explanations and why we're choosing who we're choosing on all those sides. So super exciting for us. We're continuing to grow. Massive thank you to you if you're a subscriber. If you're so willing, we would really love it if you could forward it to a friend who's into football, even if they're not into Guillotine. Maybe they're into the sports betting side of it. But we've got tons of content. We love interacting with you. We love it when you comment, share, like, all that stuff is super cool. We started this out just because we loved getting together once a week and talking as old high school buddies. And it's grown, and we've enjoyed the ride. But we're going to do it regardless. So if you don't subscribe, you don't like, whatever, we're still going to do it. So you might as well join it, and hopefully you enjoy it and appreciate it like we're enjoying it.
We'll be here whenever you come around and decide to join us.
That's right. We will be here. So abbreviated episode this week. We didn't have a ton. We're working real hard on those rankings. Next week is a big one. We're super excited. It's right about draft time. And if you want that content, you can subscribe on the website. So that'll be up about the same time.
Yep. More to come over the next few weeks on continued draft strategies. So we talked about bye weeks tonight, but there's plenty of other things to think about before and during your draft. So we'll bring you some more news on that over the next few episodes. Continue to update you on injury news and other key position battles, maybe things like that shake out near the end of preseason as we go along. So tune back in next week.
Absolutely. And enjoy watching the preseason games kick off this weekend and into next week. Tune in for next week's episode for those rankings. And in the meantime, most importantly, stay shrewd, everybody.